Hello everybody, my name is Marcus. Welcome back to episode 5 of our automation game Let's Play, Consolidated Motorcars Incorporated. Last episode, we leveraged up and made a massive factory expansion and added a family trim of our previous model. Today we're going to dive into designing 2 new models and then of course testing them on Beamng.drive. The idea here is I want to split our current lineup, which is basically one model for both the family budget segment and one trim for the family budget segment and one trim for the family segment. I want to instead make separate dedicated models for each of those. So we'll start off with our budget car because that's our bread and butter. And also we have for model year 1980 or body year 1980 a fantastic choice here. This hatchback with like the 1800 liter interior volume, that's fantastic. We'll go with that. We're going to stick with steel panels, unibody construction, galvanized steel, front transverse, basically the same stuff we've been doing, not too much to see here, although this time I am going to put just 1 point of quality in, because I think we can afford it, and I want to make this a little bit nice, and this will make it a little bit more expensive, but I think as our costs for it go down over time, this will help it keep a little bit competitive longer, at least I hope, and we maybe can make a little bit more money in the long haul this way. So that's the plan anyway. We're also going to create a new engine, or actually 2 new engines. I want to do separate engine families as well because I want to buy a new engine factory this episode. I think we can swing for it. And that's because our old engine is the same one from 1946 at this point. It's pretty old, and I think it's time to switch over to an overhead cam design, single overhead cam, 2 valve. We don't need any more than that. And of course, we're still going to make it out of cast iron. This is the budget engine, so I'm going to take the capacity on it way down. Don't need anything close to 2 liters. It's going to be pretty undersquare, sorry. And we'll go for stroke 3.5 and 1.5 liter displacement. I think that should be good. That's slightly smaller than our current engine, but this is a slightly smaller car, and this has the better valve train, so the power should be probably still slightly more out of this engine. Okay. Still sticking with cast, but we can go for hypercast, hyper-eutectic. Take our cam profile right down to a nice economy, drivability-oriented 25. I don't think we want to go for a turbocharger, at least not yet, because that's going to harm reliability. It adds more complexity and just overall lowers the reliability of the engine. So we'll move right along to the fuel system. We'll stick with NADASP, at least for now. We have throttle body, single point EFI unlocked, so that's good. That'll be a good direction to go. Definitely a big improvement from the carburetors we've been using. We'll switch over to multi-point as soon as we get it, but that's not an option just quite yet. Super lean fuel. I think we can leave the ignition timing a little bit higher on this one. I think last time I had it cranked all the way down to maybe 35 or something. This time I'm going to go for 45, so still not anything really aggressive, but a little bit more, and I think that'll help the fuel economy slightly, and we can probably get 6,000 RPM out of this thing as a red line. We'll have to see how the power curve looks and if that even makes sense, of course. Short cast headers. We'll skip the cat converter because we can. It doesn't really matter in this current version of automation, although maybe we should use it just for realism's sake because it would have been required at this time. Let's just use it. And we'll go for a single reverse flow muffler. Alright, so we got some knocking we have to dial out. Not a big deal. Just take that right down. Okay. 14.8 fuel efficiency. I think we can tune our exhaust a little bit too. Ooh, we're getting a little bit of stress from RPM, probably because it's so undersquare. Or rather, just the stroke is so long. It's not necessarily that it's inherently to do with the fact that it's an undersquare engine. It's just that it has a long stroke. Okay, and we can chop that off a little bit. There's no big loss here going down to 5,900 RPM. I mean, for a performance car, I'd want to wring out like every ounce of power out of that curve before it has to kick down, but for this application, I think it's fine. Oh, let's see. All right, yeah, there we go. And that still looks just perfect. That's where we want our exhaust tuning. And how much does it cost us if we want to put some quality into the throttle body? Not too much. Let's start with that. Let's start with 2 points of quality. That'll give us a nice little buff to reliability over a 0 quality one. And I don't think we can get any more. Yeah, no more compression in there. We might be able to. I think we can take the rev limit down even one more click. Save even a little bit more reliability. We're probably going to take a hit to reliability at first, just because it's a new engine family and we've been rehashing our old one for so many years. Okay, let's give it a quick listen. Not too much to hear, to be honest. Okay, now we get into the trim design. We're going to go for the tall body 4-door hatchback, of course. There's so much room. I love it. I love this body. It's just like this perfect little boxy thing. You can make it so long at the end too. But I don't think we'll go for something in the middle. Maybe not even quite that much. I want it to still look more like a hatchback and not like a complete bread van. That can go up, or it can go down. We'll keep it about like that. Make the bumpers. Oops. Can I square off the back at all? No, it's already pre-squared off. Okay, that's what we'll have. We'll come back and do the rest of the design later. We also have now, finally, the advanced automatic gearbox, which is, I think, for most demographics in current automation, it's just hands down the best one. It always seems to get the best scores. So that's, of course, what we're going to use with this car. It also, I think what it's supposed to represent is like, I'm not entirely sure, but this is, I think, supposed to represent an automatic with like an old school hydraulic operation system, like a valve body. I mean, I think all transmissions still have a valve body, but yeah, this one is a computerized one. It doesn't have a hydraulic control. It's got a computerized control. I think that's what it's supposed to represent. Anyway, moving on. Radial tires, hard, long life. Ooh, we'll equalize the tire sizes. I think 165 is probably good enough. Oh, we can morph the fenders out a tiny bit. All right, that looks good. Do we want slight? Yeah, can we get 14s on there? Yeah, 14s. Good stuff. Space our wheels out a little bit, so we probably will have some body roll with this car, given how tall it is. All right. Discs up front, drums in the back. Nothing too fancy. Oh, lower our brake pad aggressiveness there. Down to about 30. No under tray. 80 for cooling airflow. Basic interior with no entertainment, put in 1 point of quality. Hydraulic power steering, standard 70 safety, just the latest standard stuff. Progressive springs, basic dampers. Hit it for normal, and let's see how we did. We're doing great. Almost 150 without doing any fine tuning. All right. Let's see how much we can eke out of this thing. Certainly we can have higher gearing for starters. We can have better spacing as well, or wider spacing. I shouldn't say better spacing. Maybe a 75 looks good. And then make it slightly taller. Okay. Wow, the fuel economy's not actually very good. I wonder if that's because it's just shaped like a brick. Could be. Tune our brakes. We can go for a little bit more front bias. Okay. Nothing to see on this. Let's test the basic AM radio. Nope, still not time. Nothing there. Let's do we have low load capacity? Let's see if we can get a little bit stiffer. springs. Well, before we do that, how's our ride height? Oh, let's give it more ride height. That looks a little dumb. This thing can handle some more. 10 inches looks a little excessive. 9.5? How's that? Got rid of our warning. We can still up those. Gives us a little bonus to drivability. And we can even dial some of that out. Get even more excuse me, even more drivability. And we can even dial some of those out and get even more drivability. We'll take our roll angle is more aggressive than it needs to be, so we can remove some of the sway bar stiffness. Get this up to about, that's a little bit too much. That's good there, 6.8. That's bang on for the type of thing that we're going for. All right, that's our first trim of this car. Let's go ahead and do the design on it. I'll time lapse it again, and then I want to think about, while I'm doing that, think about whether I want to start with a second trim of this car of some sort, or if we just do it with one. Give me just a moment. We're back now with the first generation of the Mobilizer hatchback, the budget family and city car, powered by the new sprightly 1.5 E77 motor with a throttle body injection. Let's take a quick look at what other bodies are available and see if I want to go ahead and make another one. Ooh, this would make a really good light delivery car. I don't know. Should we? Let's stick for one trim for now, and then I do think we'll make a light delivery version of it down the line. But let's save a little bit on engineering and make a little bit more reliable car up front here. All right, we'll call it a day for this model till we go to Beamng. That is. Let's do the factory tooling. We're going to make this one in the large factory. Okay, leave everything as is. We don't really need to make any upgrades. Select the trim. Automation, I think we don't need to upgrade everything. We do need to be a little bit cost conscious. Engineering, 60 months. Totally reasonable. Let's pump some funding into it. Run that slider at about 90. Drop a few points out of pressure, because that'll help reliability. Tooling, I want to take that up to about 55. We can run a little over 60 months for this. Maybe we make it a 66-month engineering time, an extra 6 months. To cut a little bit of a corner at pretty modest cost, we can take a little bit out of the process slider, just down to 40. That doesn't add too much. And then grab a few more points of reliability. Let's just there we go. One more point of funding to take it under 66 months. Let's have a look at the engine. This is where I want to build a new factory. And let's see here. Yeah, plots are still the cheapest in Helvetia. Could I make another large factory? Let's not make the same mistake as last time and forget all the add-ons that I need. How much is this going to cost me? 2.4 billion. Well, I think it kind of depends on if we can get credit for it or not. Yeah, that's really what's going to determine it. So let's leave it in there for now and see if we can take out a sufficient loan to cover it. We'll take the quality threshold down, leave tooling as is. Engineering, I'll bang on here as well. Up to 90, a few points out of pressure. Leave these slide. I'll take a little bit out of. You take a little bit more out of the process slider because the material cost is pretty small here. It's like, you know, we said $50 or something. 575 versus, it's like $90. That's still. I'll trade that to put a few more points in the reliability slider. Forecasting tool, the scores look good. Take our max shifts down to, to 2.3 is what I want, and we'll set 7 years as the target break-in point. All right, this looks okay. Whew. Yeah, it's only gonna let us borrow for 22% of that coverage. And how much do we have? Although this is like, well, no, we're gonna start construction on this pretty soon. But actually, we're pretty cash flow positive, so we could probably pay for most of this factory construction under. Yeah, we could pay for most of it under our current operation profit, and yeah, I think that's what we'll do. But we are gonna borrow for what we can of it, and I want a little bit longer term, something like 60 months is good. All right, that one's signed off. Now let's take a look at our family car, the new Liberator, moving up market. Target the family segment. And I want to go maybe just a little bit bigger here than what we had in the past. I think we were working with. Let's go look and see at the old one what we were working with. We had a 92-inch wheelbase and about an 830 or an 840 cabin volume in terms of liters. So let's look at the newer bodies and see what we have that could maybe compete or beat that. You know what? We're gonna go for this big boy right here. I think this body is based on an E190 Mercedes, which is not a huge car. That's about the size of a family car that I want. So we'll take this body. So for suspension and chassis setup on this one, we're gonna go steel panels, unibody chassis, same materials, Galvy, and then front transverse, McPherson struts. But we're gonna switch up to semi-trailing arms in the rear. I want this to be a little bit more comfortable. It can be a little bit more expensive as well. I think those markets will pay for the comfort. So we will put, again, 1 point of quality into it. It's still not a super fancy, elaborate thing, and we have some familiarity in all of these things now, so we can do that. Well, let's make another engine. It's still going to be an inline 4. That's single overhead cam 2-valve. Or, do I want to maybe make it an inline 5? I don't think that's necessary. We'll stick with the inline 4. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make it a pretty under square one. 3.6 for the stroke. Maybe even bigger. Let's go 3.7. And then I want a 2.2 liter displacement. I think that'll be good to move around a car of this size and weight. The cars are going to get heavier too, so. And we're not going to get a lot of power out of this 2.2 liter. It's not going to rev, and it's going to have super lean fuel ratio, so we're not going to be making any power out of it. Same low compression, economy-oriented fuel setup, or cam setup, sorry. Single point EFI, lean out the fuel mixture, 45 ignition timing. This one, given that the other one struggled to make it to 6,000 RPM, we'll be very, very lucky if this gets to 5.5. Short cast, put the two-way cat on there for realism, single reverse flow. We've got some knocking, but we're revving just fine, and the curve looks good. I don't think we're losing out on too much power at the top end. Where's the compression? There's the compression. All Alright, no more knocking. How's our exhaust looking? We want to make it just a little bit smaller, more restrictive. That looks very good. Alright, putting out 73 horsepower, 100 foot-pounds of torque. That's not too bad. Weighs 350 pounds, so it's a little on the heavy side, but that's not too ridiculous. Very good fuel efficiency. And we will also put a couple points of quality into our fuel system, and that'll even let us get one more click of compression. All right, this looks great. We're not going to listen to it because it sounds exactly the same as the other one. Big trunk. No, we don't want a trunk that big. We actually want the trunk to be somewhat large. I think about like that. We can bring this out, bring that out. I want more interior volume. That's nice. That's a big interior. Bigger at the front? Maybe. I don't think we need to make it bigger at the front. This body is normally kind of oversteery, but we're going to be front engine, front wheel drive, so I don't think we have to worry about that. We'll go with the sedan. Advanced automatic, take the ratio up a little bit, or top speed up. I'm mixing up all my words today. Spacing is 70. Ooh, now, do I want to give it medium compound or stick with the hard long life? Let's stick with hard long life for now. We probably don't need 215s. Let's try 195s. Can I get fender flares on this at all? Kind of. I don't love those. It's a pretty wide car. I think it'll be all right. We can put a little bit on the back though. I think 15-inch wheels is good, but we want slightly larger tires. Yeah, that looks nice. Large sidewall, good comfort. Let's see if we can get away with the same setup. Solid discs in front and drums in the rear. Still make it big though. And pad type 30. No under tray. Plenty of cooling for reliability. Still very important and still part of our brand ethos. Standard interior with a basic radio, or maybe we do a basic 8-track. I don't know, it's a lot more expensive. Let's build it with the AM radio and then go back and see what the markets prefer. And we'll stick with standard safety, progressive springs. For now, just the basic dampers. Okay, that's a good score. Or at least, for not having tuned anything yet. What do we want to tune here? First of all, the gearing. Bring that out. We can add even more spacing. It's not the fastest car. Oh my god, it weighs 2,500 pounds, which is not that heavy, but at 75 horsepower, this is not a quick car. It doesn't have the yellow warning though, so I guess it's fine. As far as the markets are concerned. We might need some more brakes, but we don't really need them. Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty extreme. Should I put solid disc 1 pistons in the back? Well, oh, that helps a little bit. 2 pistons in the front? Do we need, I guess, we need this much braking power? What about that? What about that? Oh, that looks okay. Yeah, there we go. So we had 2 pistons in the front, and then we'll stick with drums in the back. Save a buck. And we'll make them a little bit cheaper pads. That looks good. And the load capacity is a little low, but the ride height also looks a little low. Let's give it an extra, I don't know, an inch? 9-inch ride height. That looks a little high, but let's try 8.5. Very indecisive. And slightly larger, or not larger, but stiffer springs. I don't really want to go any stiffer than that because we're compromising comfort. And we're going to have to take our dampers up too. Okay, Okay, well, we're not far off. If we can live with 8.8, we can get rid of that. We can get rid of that yellow warning, and our score is a little bit better. Let's tune for maximum drivability. Reduce our sway bars for more comfort. That looks good. Slightly, or not slightly, significantly softer in the back to give even more grip at the rear. And 6.6 overall roll angle. That's pretty good. Let's test out our interior. Do they like... Oh, they like the basic A-Track a lot better. And it's a dedicated family car. Big bonus to comfort, too. And it's a dedicated family car. We'll even put a point of quality in it, so we can have it be a little bit more expensive. That's okay. All right, all that's left now is just to do the design and naming of it, and I'll make another time lapse. Give me just a moment. Winding up with some nice scores here. I like these. But let's see how it does after we do the factory setup. Build it in the medium plant, of course. Tooling all stays as is. Very good. Engineering, 64 months. Maybe this one takes a little longer. That would be okay. $72 months. I'm kind of okay with it. Oh, I want to put some more automation into this one as well, so we can't go quite so aggressively on this. Drop out some tooling. Drop out a little bit of pressure. Perfect. Engine, build it also in the medium plant. We don't have to have this one set up quite so aggressively anymore. Automation of 70 is probably fine. Save a little bit of money. Tooling quality too. We still want good tooling quality, but we'll take it down to 70. Engineering. Take it right up to 72 months with the emphasis on reliability, just like we're doing for everything. A little bit out of process, a little bit into tooling. And there we go. Decently reliable. Okay. Take the shifts down. That looks good. The profits look very strong. All right, let's go ahead and sign it off. That looks like a positive forecast. We can't borrow for it anyway, so we're just gonna have to pay for it. Let's sign it off. Okay. All right, so we've got our new models signed off and ready to go. All right, so we've got our new models signed off and ready to go. Now we just have to hit play and let it run till about 1982 when our factories start to switch over. We'll set our stock target here on the old one for 9 months. We'll be still making money while we go through the big expense of building our first engine factory. We're gonna only have the factories offline, not selling cars for a pretty short period of time, which is really nice. Compared to last time, we were offline for like 3 years or something. We are just a couple ticks away from going into our factory retooling. We're in a pretty good financial position. We've been paying down our loan and paying for building of our new engine factory, while also still being able to put a decent amount of money in the bank. We've saved up $1.3 billion, And we've also got a good amount of stock built up, so I feel pretty good like going into this retooling. Slow it down. Okay, we've had our first 2 trims on sale of our new models for a while, and I have to say they're not selling quite as profitably as the old one. They're still selling very well, and we're still making a lot of money, but I would have liked to have been a little bit more swimming in it right now. But that's okay, because we're still making a very healthy profit, and we still got plenty of cash in the bank. And second and third facelifts always seem to be more competitive anyway, so I'm still feeling pretty good. These are still qualified successes as trims. We'll go ahead and export them to Beamng.drive, take them for a spin, and see how they drive. We are ready to take the Mobilizer Budget Hatch, Model 77, releasing in 1982, if I recall correctly, for a spin. Right off the bat, it's not the fastest car in the world. It only has that 1.5 liter overhead cam motor, I think, making about 50 horsepower. 4-speed automatic with pretty tall gearing, although the lower gear should have been fairly spry. I mean, it's adequate. We can get up to 60 miles an hour. Like, you could take this on the highway. It does understeer quite notably. Maybe it's a throwback to the first car we ever made, the Liberator 46. That also understeered a lot. Yeah, and this is kind of just a basic car. It's not anything special to drive, but it soaks up these bumps surprisingly well. I think this would be pretty comfortable riding for a car of its size. Let's quickly take it on this dirt road, see how it feels off the pavement. This car just has so little power that it can be a little bit difficult to drive on this road. I don't know why it feels so underpowered compared to our previous model. I didn't take a good look at the weights. Maybe it is that much heavier. In summary, this car isn't really bad to drive. It's a little bit understeery, but other than that, it's pretty much devoid of any undesirable behavior. It seems to ride fairly smoothly. Nothing too special, but I mean, it doesn't have to be. It's just another form of really, really basic bare-bones transportation. Let's have a look at the Liberator 3 and see how that drives. Now it's the Liberator's turn, our first venture into the family sedan market with a dedicated model, not just a trim of our existing car. It's much bigger than the previous one, much heavier, but has that bigger and more powerful 2.2-liter engine as well. But about 75 horsepower, which it really isn't all that much for a car weighing just under 2,500 pounds, but it motivates it adequately, and it actually feels a little bit quicker than the Mobilizer. While we're tooling around here, I wanted to talk a little bit about where we might take the company next, because we now have the 2 core demographics that I set out wanting to cover pretty well covered. We'll try to get more competitive in them over time, but we're probably also going to want to expand into some other demographics. That could be maybe sport budget cars, could be a premium version of this sedan right here. Could also even be maybe little light trucks and off-road cars, Jeep type things. That might fit in with our brand ethos. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think we should do now that we have a little bit of money and a little bit of room to play. We should be able to do some fun stuff. Handling on this car is noticeably better than on the Mobilizer. The Mobilizer understeers quite a lot. This, actually, you can kick the tail out like I just did if you want to, with some lift-off oversteer, but when you're on throttle, the understeer is much less pronounced. The car turns overall much more willingly, but still very stable. Very nice driving car overall, despite the fact that it is quite slow, but it's supposed to be a big, comfortable sedan, and comfortable it is. It soaks up the bumps really well, and this is actually our first car with proper 4-wheel independent suspension, not like a beam axle, twist beam, or live axle in the back like all of our other cars have had. Brought to you in the year 1982 by Consolidated Motorcars Incorporated. Overall, I definitely prefer the way this car drives compared to the Mobilizer, but maybe that's not surprising. It's overall just supposed to be a little bit more expensive product. That's going to wrap it up for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.